releasing? What is that?
So you know what that means.
Is it as report?
This regular meeting of council of Town of Oliver, Monday, July 22nd, 2019 to order, and I'll ask the CEO if there's any late items to add to the agenda.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have no late items for the agenda this evening.
Then I will look for a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. Councillor Rice, second by Councillor Schwarzenberger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Adoption of prior minutes. E1, adoption of July 8, 2019 regular open council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt those minutes? Councillor Rice, Councillor Mattis, further discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to committee reports. F1, July 8, 2019 committee of the whole meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt those minutes? Councillor Schwarzenberger. Seconded by Councillor Rice. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now, we'll call on Chairman Veintimilla, who chaired the committee of the whole meeting this evening, to give us a report from that meeting.
Thank you very much. We had a lengthy meeting this afternoon. We began by receiving a second quarter update of our 2018 to 2022 strategic priorities. We received a report on a new investment policy, which has been sent back to staff for the addition of some checks and balances. We received a report on a reserve and surplus funds policy that was also sent back to staff for some tweaking, and we're going to see both of those back at a future council meeting. We chatted about our joint services budget presentation. So this was a follow-up conversation to a decision by council from last fall, and we've amended our request slightly to now request that our joint service presentations to council be made before budget adoption at the regional district instead of before budget submission as originally requested. We had a look at a draft Town of Oliver Youth Council charter. We've provided some comments, and the charter is now going to be sent to the principal at the high school for further feedback. Our Director of Development Services, Mr. Gould, provided a verbal report on the process for cannabis applications, including the provincial requirements that the town must follow. And Councillor Price led a discussion on International Overdose Awareness Day, which is August 31st. Council did direct staff to put together a social media awareness campaign for around that date, as well as look for options to light up the town hall in purple. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor Veintimilla. Moving to water matters, item G1 is a new park tender award. I'll refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will refer this matter over to our Director of Operations to take you through the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is to award the new park located on Fairview Road, the tender contract. So before I get into the options, I thought I'd just point out a few things. Staff and council have met several times over the last year, discussing different options of the park. We finally got it out to tender. It was brought to our attention just prior to tendering the project about a water fill station, bottle fill and fountain. And so I thought I would add it into the report because we found out more information as it was being tendered. So it was just timing. So we'll see if council has an appetite to add that. And staff feel that the contract costs are reasonable for the work that needs to be done. And the attached memo that Joseph, our engineering tech, did, he provided a bunch of information in there. We did receive 3 tenders, and they varied a bit. to go over the project costs. Most of or just to remind council, 100% of the project's funded by DCCs. And if I break down the components of the cost to date and some future costs for extras, if council does award the contract, we've got a contingency built in. We've ordered furniture, meaning tables and benches and different things, a bike repair station, so that was something that we talked about. That's being ordered. The electrical hasn't been ironed out 100%, but our electrical contractor is going to work with we'll get the conduit and everything, just haven't got the cost finalized on that. And if we add in the proposed water bottle station, drinking fountain, some more labor and engineering, then we're looking at approximately $70,000 left in the budget, which I know council had discussed with the OIB and possibly putting a centerpiece, whether it be a sculpture or something else, in that the little courtyard centerpiece area that we've created in the park. So if council go through the options, option 1, award the new park contract to PacWest Contracting for $123,210.27 and incorporate the outdoor water fill and fountain station with associated works for an estimated $10,000. Option 2 would be to award the new park to PacWest Contracting and not proceed with installing the outdoor water fill and fountain station. And 3, of course, is reject the tender bids and retender the project. Are there any questions?
Councillor Rice?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to the Director of Operations. So I would be in favor of the bottle fill station. I think that supports the walkable community, health community, people cycling in the area, those sorts of things. I do have a question as to if there's a final draft of the park, because I know at our last meeting we were proposing changes to the direction of the pathway, additional seating, those sorts of things.
Yeah. I should have included the drawing. Yeah, we did tweak it. We did change the path. I took all the recommendations. We tweaked a few things, but it doesn't look much different than it did before. I just didn't attach the drawing, which is I should have. Yeah.
Councillor Schwarzenberg?
Thank you, Worship. Through the chair, to Mr. Goodsell,
You can bring it up.
I noticed on the list of extras, it didn't have anything here, unless it's under wishbone furniture, it didn't have anything for bike lock or
Bike rack?
bike racks.
Yeah, that's included in the furniture.
Okay.
We decided to keep everything the same looking, somewhat the same, same color scheme. So the furniture, most of the arms and legs are black, and then with kind of sandy tan colors for the tops, like we did with the Fairview Park across from the high school. Yeah, kept it with the same color scheme.
Councillor Veintimilla?
Thank you. I also like the idea of including a water fill station and drinking station. I'm sorry I threw that 1 minute, the last minute, but it actually came, like we've had lots of discussions on the park, but I had a visit from a constituent, obviously after we started actually designing the park, and she's part of the cycling group in town, and she brought up how on the bike path, on any of our main corridors, there's not an area that's easily accessible to refill water bottles or get a drink of water, and that would be something super useful, and it seems to really make sense in that area with our bike racks and repair station, and being that it is on a main corridor for walking as well, it kind of seems to kill a lot of birds with one stone. My only question was, one of the designs that we handed over had a PET drinking dish out at the bottom as well. I'm just wondering what happened to that one.
Yeah, we didn't think that the pet, we could still add that if you guys wanted.
Well, we've
to
never
do it.
had a discussion about it here, so I'd be interested to chat
No,
and see what
I
everybody
just thought it was another, because this water fill station has a fountain that comes out from it. I'm always thinking about vandalism, so, and you have another thing down below for the dogs. Well, a lot of people just cup their hands and give the dogs water, but I mean, we could add that. It's just, it's a higher cost. I don't think I got, I didn't finalize the price on one of those. We looked at the fountain that's attached to the water bottle fill station. So those were the two components that we looked at. Those alone, just for that, and I believe in Joseph's report that's attached to mine, he has a copy of that. That's exactly what it looks like. And then the dog one, you can imagine, it's just another arm coming out in a different spot down below. I just thought it was overkill myself, but.
Well, I think it was only, if I remember correctly, a difference of a couple $1,000s from the ones that, the one that's included in the report is one that, Mayor Johnson and Councillor Riss and I found when we were in Quebec. And the dog dish just comes off the bottom like at ground level, so I would just be interested in hearing what others think, if they think that's a good idea or a silly idea. I thought it was a good idea. But I'm not a pet owner, so I don't know how much it would be used.
I'm not a pet owner either, but most of the owners that, you know, a lot of the owners that have dogs have those little collapsible dishes, water dishes, so they just come over and fill it up and then put it down for their dog.
See,
I'm good, thanks.
We did have the drawing up there that was part of the tender package, just one of the drawings. So it shows the pathway and how we diverted it closer to what I think Councillor Mattis had suggested before, and make it, cause that's where it attaches onto the hike and bike up there. And there was a few other changes, I can't recall every one of them, but that's basically what it looked like. And it's hard to see on that drawing, but the bike racks are down in the bottom corner. No. Bike racks are down here, the bike repair station's there, and then we were thinking of either coming here with the water or over here. And what we'll do is I'll get my service crew to go out there and lay the line. Now it won't take them very long, and just put it in the appropriate spot. Joseph will work with them, and then the contractor can just incorporate that into the design. And it doesn't quite look like that. It looks bad in the design program that we're using, right? So paving stones are gonna be like that.
I would make a comment about the feature that would include watering for pets. I really do think it would be a good feature to add. It was something that we had in Kelowna a lot. Didn't have the bottle fill station, but had the two features there. And as somebody who uses the hike and bike regularly, there is a tremendous amount of people walking dogs along, whether they're carrying a dish or not. It's not an item that I think would get, because those things are very robust. I think they're not going to get vandalized at that level. And I sure don't remember ever seeing that in Kelowna, like that people were vandalizing that. And the amount of people with dogs, I think, to support people, Lions Park is there's lots of people using Lions Park, and it's a way for them to come back and get some water for their pet, and the cost is negligible really in the scheme of things.
It could be an extra $1,000 or something like that. I'll have to look into that.
Councillor Veintimilla?
There's water going to that area where the potential future feature will also be.
Last time I talked to council, I think we were running lines to there just in case.
Right.
And we're running an extra line for the water bottle station, if that's what council wishes to do, so. we just so council knows too, and I put in my report that depending on what we decide to do in the middle, we haven't figured out the lighting. We'll have all the conduit in place and everything ready to go until we figure out what we want to do at the middle. Then we can figure out what type of lights we want to place in there.
Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Your Worship. When would you like to know what we're gonna do in the middle?
Well, sooner is always better, but I mean, the park's gonna be, if we can get this company working on the park, I'm thinking if they could start in August and work through to September, then, I mean, it doesn't have to be done right away, we can even do it next year.
So I
Right.
suppose a piece of artwork could just,
Yeah, if we think about it and if we wanna do artwork, because the centerpiece is gonna be unfinished, right? So we'll just finish it to a point, so it's just gonna be sitting with gravel or something, or we could put landscape rock for now, or we could even just plant stuff, but that'd be more for next year, depending on how long we're gonna take to decide on what we want there.
Councillor Madison.
Yeah, I don't think there's any rush to finish the centerpiece at this
No.
point. The park itself, once it's completed, may help define what that centerpiece will be. If we're anxious to have something there, we do have a stainless steel maple tree down at Public Works that could be moved to that location.
That's obviously another story for
Yeah.
another time.
No comment.
Councillor Veintimilla.
I guess that after that conversation, I would like to move the recommendation, that council award the new park contract to Phat contracting in the amount of $123,210.27. And that council direct staff to incorporate an outdoor water filled fountain station, I will add with the addition of a pet dish, with the associated works for an estimated cost of $10,000.
I'll second.
Moved by Councillor Rice. Any further discussion? Questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item G2, underwater matters. Contract award for multiple capital projects. I'll refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I will also refer this report over to the Director of Operations to go through the tendering information with you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm sure there'll be some questions and talk about this 2019 Capital Works tender that we just put out. As you know, it's over the estimated costs that we budgeted for. When I talked to True Engineering, I gave them our budget, and then we were going through all the designs, especially Park Drive across from Tuckalnuit School, that we ended up redesigning that about 3 times, because we just found that originally when they were budgeting the project, they were trying to fit everything within a certain portion of the road right away, and it just wasn't working. So that's why their budget dollars are a lot lower. And then when staff started reviewing these and discussing with them, staff thought that we decide it doesn't make sense to just end the sidewalk. Why not continue it to the next crosswalk up around the corner where Tuckalnuit Drive and Park Drive meet? So that drove the costs up for Park Drive. Fairview sidewalk was again probably twice the original budget when it was finally designed. Airport Road rehabilitation came in under. We got some favorable paving rates there to finish that 1 lane. And McGowan subdivision water upgrades, we originally estimated high on that one because we were unsure what the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, their requirements were. We thought that they may make us pave a larger portion of that road because we were putting in so many utility cuts and stuff, so we found a way around that. So, True Engineering, our engineers, attached the report that you guys had a chance to read. And they discuss, some of the things. There was some minor, addition errors, but that doesn't affect the tender. So True Engineering recommends, to award the 2019 Capital Works tender to Grizzly Excavating Limited for the total project cost of $491,669.06, and to use $212,000 of gas tax money to make up the shortfall in the general capital budget. And the second option would be award the 2019 Capital Works tender to Grizzly Excavating for the total project cost of $393,900, with the Fairview sidewalk portion of the project being taken out of the tender and using $167,400 of the gas tax money to make up the shortfall in the general capital budget. And 3 would be the reject all tenders and retender, or retender portions of it. After discussion with True Engineering, and I wanted to give council a second option, because that's using up a good portion of all the gas tax money that was given to the town of Oliver this year. We came up with removing the Fairview sidewalk portion. So it was after they've already came up with the memo. We were short on the timelines, so I asked them to contact Grizzly Excavating, and they took a little while to get back to us, but they're okay with us deleting Fairview sidewalk portion of the project and taking that portion out, if council wishes to save a little more of the gas tax money, or unless you guys have another idea, basically. So it's 4 projects altogether. And just to give, and something else I should have included originally, and I believe that it was sent to council late today. A Park Drive traffic calming portion was actually they've quoted $235,406 for that. Fairview Road sidewalk extension was $42,506. Airport Street rehabilitation was $92,812, and McGowan subdivision was $80,531. And that doesn't include the contingencies and some more engineering that needs to be done, of course, when the project continues. Were there any questions on?
I would have one question through, if we wanted to drop the school portion, Tuckalnoot school portion, would that be best done through retendering of the whole process? There were supposed to be some savings by joining all of these together, but it doesn't appear to have happened. And I'm just wondering if it would make more sense to retender individually and see what would happen.
Well,
that project was originally budgeted in February at $66,000, and somehow it was climbed to $280,000. Something's gone way off the tracks there, and I don't know how we get back to where we started, or get closer to where we started. Again, council never received any diagrams of the final designs or anything on this project as well, so it's hard to know what we're looking at spending money on when you don't know the final, when you say that it's been redesigned 3 times. Well, once again, we don't see what the final design is. It makes it difficult for me to make a good decision on it. I do know that the airport road does need to be done. And it's well under budget. Between its budget and the Fairview Road budget, they are actually on track with what was originally planned for those 2 particular projects. It looks like McGowan is on track, but this Tuckalnoot has somehow gotten way out of control compared to the original traffic calming study that said it would be $50,000 to $60,000 or $60,000 to $70,000, and now we're looking at $280,000. I think we need to look at it again. Another piece of it for me that always concerns me is engineering costs. when I look at these 4 projects, somewhere between 25 and 30%, or not 25 and 30%, but $60,000 in engineering costs. It might be time for us to start looking at buying our own engineer for the money that we're spending on engineering every year. I think the number that was thrown around this afternoon was, on average, we spend about $300,000 a year. That's not to say that we wouldn't still have to hire things out, but it might be something we should be looking at a whole lot more closely. I know that we're very heavily tied to true engineering, and I don't know that that's healthy in some days when I look at $60,000 engineering for this. And I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Councillor Veintimilla?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was waiting to see.
Oh, CEO.
Thank you. With respect to the comment regarding, looking at our own engineer in-house, that comes along with a number of people underneath them because they just sign off, so you have to have more people working on all the drawings and everything else, so it's not just looking at one individual, you're looking at a whole team, basically.
Councillor Machial?
I think that it's something we maybe should take a look at as a town. I'm not saying we're gonna do it right now or we're gonna do it, but I agree with the comment. I look at a lot of these projects, I think that the Gallagher Lake project is an example. I mean, the engineering well over $1 million. I don't know if without getting a report from somebody, we're kind of sitting here, we don't really know. But I think it's a question we need to ask when we start looking at how much money we're spending on engineering. I know there are towns who have their own engineering departments. I don't know what an engineering department would cost, but I mean, a cost analysis of what we've spent in the last 5 years, vis-a-vis what we'd have to spend to have our own. It might something. It's a discussion for the future. I think the council should have that discussion.
It's time to say, yes, let's look at it instead of
I mean,
all the
looking at
reasons why not.
I don't disagree with looking at it.
Councillor Veintimilla?
Just in regards to, like, going back to the projects on the tender, in regards to the Park Drive, portion. Obviously, the project's grown a lot since when we first started talking about it. I don't think, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're gonna do something, you should do it right. And it's grown for reasons over the last couple of months, but that is a lot of money and it's a lot of money over budget. So personally, I would feel more comfortable, moving forward with that one if we're to move forward after seeing the drawings and seeing what it is that we're actually committing to.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I go? Alright, thank you. Here's the drawing. All of our drawings, all of our tenders are always on our website. So you could go through the tender documents and the drawings, but yeah, I can bring them forward. So we pulled it up from the website, and so what we've included that wasn't originally included was the speed hump in the middle. And we've had to widen the roads because when we discussed having the parking and travel lanes on both sides of the school, that it just wasn't working within the envelope that they originally had the designs, but the travel lanes were way too narrow. Like, we would have had more complaints building that at a lot less dollars, and it wouldn't have worked as well. So their proper travel lanes, and there's proper parking widths. That was another thing. They were trying to squeeze it in. And there was a couple other things, like we decided to, I think originally it was gonna end up here, and we decided to go up to the corner because there's a crosswalk right there. And so that added some quantities. So some quantities were added there. What else was not? Let's see. We have to move a fence too. Sorry. So I think for the most part, widening the whole road, creating the parking, the speed hump, extending the sidewalk to a proper location, and building did I say speed hump? Yeah. And moving the fence, contributed to some extra dollars. And that's basically what came about. It wasn't an easy decision, like we did go through 3 designs, and just to discuss about the engineering's estimated on all these projects. We're not necessarily paying that amount for the engineering. It's usually a certain portion of a contract, but it pays for the guys on the ground, the eng techs that are overseeing the contractors. Are out there every day or every second or third day and making sure things are done right. And so that's what drives the costs up, plus all the design and the tendering and everything else.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair, so I would not be in favor of deferring the Tuckledale project. I'm glad we were able to see some drawings here, and I will look to the town website in the future for said drawings. I think that the safety, traffic safety around our schools is of the utmost importance. I've heard lots from parents at that school with their concerns about parking, drop-off, traffic, those sorts of things around the school. So with the new project, would the drop-off and pickup be now on both sides of the street then? Is that?
That's correct. So you have the sidewalk on both sides, so it's trying to funnel everybody to the crosswalk.
The center?
That way they're not crossing.
Because right now they have to go out to the corner if they're on that side of the road, is that right?
Well, they're not even supposed to park along
Yeah,
this
in the
whole
first
side
place.
of the road
So everyone's
right
just
now.
running across if they
So
go
right,
over.
the people are doing it anyways,
Yeah.
so now we thought that after we had that traffic calming study, coming up with a design here, plus it kind of hits, having the speed hump does slow down people, but it also it helps the situation out during school days and hours where it is busier there, because people aren't really following the signs that are out there right now.
And if I may, have a couple other points here as well. So at the June 10th committee of the whole meeting, the council had began our discussion of what to do with the gas tax fund. So I do have a concern about basically spending all of it on these upcoming projects here. We specifically had talked about solar installations on town-owned properties, so I don't want that to completely go to the wayside. So I would also be in favor of deferring the Fairview sidewalk project until 2020. And then finally, I would support Councillor Meta's suggestion in at least investigating hiring our own engineer. I mean, we did make the move to hire our own director of development services for, I think, similar reasons, and I think it's at least worth exploring. Thank you.
Okay, just to touch on that too, like, and to bring up the points that Ms. Cowan brought up about you do need almost like a small little department when you start engineering in-house and looking after projects and stuff, and having an eng tech out there quite a bit of the time. So it takes them away from their regular work. It's like a whole new component that you need to add on. And we can look at it for sure, like I'm not against that. I just don't think, personally, I don't think the town of Oliver is big enough at this point to have our whole engineering department. Like we have an eng tech right now, but you need somebody that CADs, you need the engineer, you almost need backup to those guys as well when people are off.
Councillor Schwarzenberger.
Thank you, Worship. I know most of the original part of this Park Drive project was based on traffic calming. So my question is, what, besides the raised sidewalk, are there 2 bump outs? Is that part of the traffic calming part, or?
No, I was trying to remember. No, I think the traffic calming was to still create some parking. It's just that the design changed.
I thought originally there were some boulders.
There was gonna be some bump outs. I'd have to pull up the report but, it has changed a little bit since then.
Sidhu?
Thank you, Worship. One of the suggestions in the traffic calming was the bollards in that area, but council did not feel that that was something that would be appropriate for along the road at that location,
And Sawmill as well.
and Sawmill too.
I remember the sawmill part, I just don't remember that part, but anyway, that's fine.
Councillor Mattis?
Good.
Okay. I guess I have a few comments. I will say that I do have full confidence that staff have looked into these projects and brought forward what they consider to be the best option in trying to deal with all the items that need to be dealt with from a safety point of view and necessary from a maintenance point of view. If I was to make one comment, it would probably, we need to do a better job putting these projects together when they come to council for consideration, which may involve some consulting fees up front. I do believe hiring our own engineer would be very challenging for, especially when you come to stamping something for a municipality this size. I think the closed tenders show, good construction drawings, and they also show a competitive market. If you look at the three values there, I think they are within the realm of reasonable tenders, which, to get three tenders that close shows that, it's a competitive market, and we don't have, I think we're getting good value for money there. Using all the gas tax funding is potentially a challenge, but I would think, an option might be to use the capital project reserve that we created at budget time, which has $100,000 in it, and maybe using $50,000 of that money and getting this work done, which I would say that I consider to be of value to the community from a safety point of view, and I would be supporting staff's recommendation. Councillor Veintimilla?
I just have one more question back to the Park Drive. Seeing the drawings is very helpful, and I agree with Councillor Price's comments with that as well. In my opinion, that's probably the most important one on the list because it deals with the safety of small pedestrians on a daily basis. But I'm just wondering, as a part of the planning process, did we consult the administration or the school board? Were they involved in the process?
No, we didn't, no.
It makes sense on paper. The only reason I ask that is because I just wonder if it's gonna make sense once people, based on how people use the area now.
Well, right now, they have a narrower area that they're using and they're dropping off. Like, we're definitely gonna be widening, it's gonna be wider, proper parking stalls. It's gonna work like it's supposed to work.
Councillor Mattis?
Thank you, Your Worship. When you talk about wider, are we talking the same width as the Station Street, or are we talking the same width as the roadworks in front of the post office?
No,
Which
it's
width
just,
are we using?
it's widening out so that you can get proper parking spaces. The travel lanes are gonna be relatively the same. But the way we originally started off and what True Engineering, when they were budgeting, they were thinking of narrowing everything, and staff had a hard time, because we do get still some complaints on some of the recent projects that we've done that we're narrowing things too much because of bigger trucks or bigger vehicles, so we were trying to avoid that and making it still a useful road, right?
Councillor Schwarzenberg?
Thank you, Worship. Sean, do you know if this, do you know a timeline for this project? I don't think it can be done before September 3rd, particularly, or can it?
I think that if they can get started on it, we haven't had that discussion because we haven't awarded it yet. So
Right.
we're hoping that the majority of the work is done before September. There may be some stuff that still needs to be completed. When you think about it, it's not a lot of, we're not digging up deep utilities or anything, right? It's a lot
Right.
of surface
Surface
stuff, yeah. So that can actually go quite quickly once they get going and prepping and
Got it. Thank you.
Councillor Michelle?
Worship, I think that, we should probably pull the McGowan portion out so that Councillor Sidhu and I can vote on that, even though it's part of the overall tender package. That should be a separate vote. I don't think we should be voting on whether you're spending money on sidewalks and how much money you're spending on it. So I would recommend that we pull that portion out, we have one vote, and then you guys can vote on the whole package.
See,
That's my recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did wanna go back to, the, Park Drive. And right now, currently what happens is people pull up onto the wrong side and kids walk across at random, right across. They don't even go to the corner or anything like that, so that's, my own concern with regards to the safety of the kids in that area. So I just wanted to point that out, that they don't funnel off to anywhere, they just go straight across. Sometimes with their parents towing them across.
I was just, you were just whispering over
Yeah,
there,
but-
getting across, but I just pictured like, just seeing the drawings and dropping off children on a regular basis at the other school where there are bump outs and there are sidewalks on both sides and you are directing people to one crosswalk, it works pretty well.
That's working
Most everyone
better.
follows the route that they're supposed to follow, and it's also a shorter distance to get across because there's bump outs on either side,
Mhm.
so I think it's a good design.
Councillor?
In addition to that, they also have a crossing guard there as well, which I think maybe is something that can be considered at least in the initial stages of this new sidewalk and the crosswalks, just to get everybody on board with using it properly.
Refer to the CAO regarding Councillor Michel's.
At any point in time, you can take pieces out of, a resolution to vote on it separately. I'm not sure if, with respect to that, if it would affect the tender price, should it not go forward with the rest of it. Cause I know that we had talked to them with regards to the Fairview sidewalk, but I'm not sure about the McGowan tender part.
I think it's
I'm not
responsible.
suggesting that the vote would go against McGowan, because I think we're getting real good value for a dollar there. I just think that, I don't think we deserve, we should be voting on sidewalks, on how you guys spend money on sidewalks. Because that's the whole, the whole discussion we had before about that.
Yeah.
And I think that by pulling that out, we can vote on that first, and it's part of it. I understand why it's all been put together to try and get better economies of scale. But there's no, I don't see any problem with pulling that out, voting on it, and we get a vote, and then you guys go ahead and vote on your, if it fails, it fails, but we don't have to vote on that, on the whole package after that. I don't see a problem with that.
Councillor Mattis.
On that basis, I would make a motion that the, water budget be charged $71,200 against the projects that are proposed. The McGowan,
Oh, there's more.
the four projects that we're discussing.
I don't know if you have to do that, maybe we just vote on that. portion.
9080.
That's what I'm saying, you're voting on the,
Isn't it 90?
well, I'm looking right at the
There's-
bottom project component.
There's other,
That's,
There's
Oh,
contingency.
you're right, I read the wrong one.
Yeah, it's
Engineering.
yeah,
Yeah.
You are correct. So the amount would be that we would charge the water budget $98,800 against the four projects listed.
If that works, I'll second it. Looking over there and that kind of gauge.
okay, so you're going with the full project?
Yeah,
The McGowan
that-
portion of it.
They're voting on the McGowan portion.
I'm voting on the water portion, is
Okay,
what I've asked for, the water portion.
okay,
Sean?
so that,
I don't have the exact specifics because the engineering's broken out, all of them, and there's contingency. Could we just maybe ask council to reword it to say just the costs associated with the McGowan contract? Like the
Is that the
McGowan
McGowan
portion?
project?
Is that the only place that there's water?
yes, I do believe so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
If that's the case, then, because it doesn't break that out either.
Well, we have a detailed breakdown.
Either way, I'll change the motion that at $98,800, the spent from the water budget to complete the McGowan water project.
No, don't put it in that, the McGowan water, not McGowan subdivision water project. Water upgrades. Be awarded.
That really doesn't affect staff's recommendation other than the 491,669 changes to 392,869, is that correct?
Well, it was before
No,
38,600.
your worship, the rest of council will still get on that big number anyway,
Yeah.
because you guys still vote the water portion as well, so I think we should just pull that out, vote on it, then you guys go ahead and vote, you know, we'll vote on that.
That the McGowan
Then it's part
subdivision
of
water
the whole
upgrades
package you guys vote
be
on.
awarded
That makes
to,
sense.
Grizzly.
I can't recall a time where we've done this, obviously, council discussed that there was some on the scale to do this, because when we used to tender water projects, we tender the water. Associated costs. This is all gonna be done, that's gonna be
The
the
McGowan
council.
subdivision.
No, we haven't done that in the past.
And the reason we did it was to see if there was any
Yeah,
savings,
I understand.
but again, we have no idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't, in reality.
We have no idea whether we saved or not.
Yeah. Good.
So what we've sort of put here, from what we heard from the discussion, is that the McGowan subdivision water upgrades and associated costs be awarded to Grizzly Excavating Limited.
Perfect. Move second.
Yeah, you have to change the bottom one, because the total
Yeah.
project cost.
Yeah. We,
Well, let us do the same, your worship.
Total project.
No, but there's dollar value associated with the water is being approved.
yeah,
But should there not be a dollar value associated with the water? If you're gonna approve the upgrade and associated costs, you gotta put a dollar value in there. CEO?
thank you, worship. We don't have that exact number at this
Okay.
point in time. So that's why we've asked for just associated costs. Yeah, and seconded. Yeah.
Well, I would like to float a motion.
Well, we've got a motion first.
Okay.
Oh, you have
First,
that
we gotta vote
motion there.
on
Okay, we'll do that, and then I'll float one too. Any further discussion on the motion that McGowan subdivision water upgrades and associated costs be awarded to Grizzly Excavating Limited? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now I can float my motion.
Yes, you can.
I'd like to put a motion on the table, the award of the 2019 capital works tender to Grizzly Excavating Limited for the total project cost of $491,669.06 and use $162,100 of gas tax funding and $50,000 of the capital works project reserve to make up the shortfall in the general capital budget.
Second motion.
Capital works, general reserve. Yeah, and second. Okay. Okay. There we go.
Any more discussion? Any questions? Any more comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Any opposed?
Huh?
No opposed? Okay, there we go.
Item G3, report from the Water Councillor Sidhu. Anything to add?
Just tonight's meeting, your worship.
Report from Water Councillor Machial.
This afternoon, your worship.
Moving to delegations and petitions, we have the Oliver Ambassadors. with us this evening. Accompanied by their chaperone. Are you gonna give us a bit of a presentation or discussion? Everybody else?
Good evening, Your Worship, Council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Enola, and as you know, I am one of three of the Olive Ambassadors for 2018 through 2019. Unfortunately, our other two ambassadors, Zepeda and Avnit, could not make it tonight. Please send their regards. I'm here tonight to formally introduce our 3 of 4 candidates to you. But before I do that, I would like to share some highlights over this past year for the ambassadors. As ambassadors, we have had a very busy year with volunteering. We started the year off strong and we have enjoyed every event we have attended. Some of our favorite events over the past 11 months include face painting at BYLAWS Playground, BYLAW Tykes Playground, the Festival of Garlic, and the Tuckle Meet and Greet. We enjoyed neighboring the community at Festival of the Grape. It was a cold one, but a good one. In the months before Christmas, we loved dressing up as elves and convincing many kids that we were the real deal. We did that at the Light Up, Breakfast with Santa, and the Oliver Community Christmas Concert. Although we love painting faces, Parks and Recreation won us over by handing us the keys to the John Deere at the Oliver 10K race. Let me say that I was the most responsible driver. I can speak for the 3 of us when we say we love volunteering, but we also love traveling and exploring beautiful British Columbia. Over the past year, Jennifer, Avnit, and I have had the pleasure of traveling to Peachland, Nanaimo, Vernon, New Westminster, Summerland, Trail, West Kelowna, Cranbrook, McCusp, Kamloops, and Kelowna. We even took our candidates to pageants in Kelowna and West Kelowna to give them a taste of what pageant life is like. Out of the 11 pageants we have been to, we have had the pleasure of being involved in 5 parades, where most of the comments consisted of, "Hey Oliver, where's the wine?" We love being tacky tourists, representing Oliver, and welcoming the new ambassadors from each municipality. We truly had an amazing year full of fun and many memories. As you can see, we traveled a lot during our reign as ambassadors. Our fun travels could not have happened without the many hours of fundraising. We had 2 Purdy's chocolate fundraisers this year, one at Christmas and one at Easter with the help of our candidates. We also spent many hours bottle sorting, our favorite job. Huge thanks to the candidates for helping us with that. My favorite fundraiser of the year was our cake auction that we had at our intro speech night for our candidates. We had so much fun baking and decorating our cakes. And to you, Mr. Mayor and Council, on behalf of the 2018-2019 Oliver Ambassador team, I would like to extend our utmost gratitude for your financial support over the course of this year, and also for being a friendly face at every town event we've attended. We thank you for an unforgettable year. And now on to our candidates. We welcomed in our 4 candidates in February, and we have given them a run for their money so far. They have had an eventful 5 months, from meeting every week since February and spending their weekends volunteering. Recently, the candidates participated in several training workshops such as self-defense, healthy living, stop the bleed, and fire suppression. The candidates have presented their first speech at intro speech night and had their first formal interview with the esteemed panel of judges. The 1-month countdown is on for our pageant, August 16th and 17th. We hope to see you all there, and without further ado, our candidates.
Hello, my name is Phat, and I am honored to be sponsored by the Kiwanis Club of Oliver.
Hello, my name is Kael, and I'm thrilled to be sponsored by the Oliver Fire Department.
Hello, my name is Myaia, Koenig, and I'm proud to be sponsored by the Oliver Lions Club.
Tonight we are missing our 4th candidate, Sharon Grewal, but she is sponsored by Oliver Royal Canadian Branch 97. Thank you.
I missed when you said they were gonna do the announcements. Is that the
16th and 17th. So our official coronation is August 17th.
August 17th?
Yeah.
Put that on your calendar.
But then it'll
Yes,
Cedar,
7 o'clock, I believe.
7 o'clock.
It's my anniversary.
Well, thanks for coming this evening. It's awesome for you guys to step up and wanna take on a role with some leadership and getting out there and speaking to public. I tell you, one of the most powerful things you can do in your life is speak publicly. That opens so many doors for you because it is challenging, without a doubt. And if you can push through that and continue to do that, it opens so many opportunities for you in the future. Any other comments from the council?
I'd just like to say thanks for coming and thanks for sitting through our riveting contract awarding discussions.
Maybe we had to drag that on there.
I know, I know.
I have some comments. I believe that we'll probably see the outgoing ambassadors at some point still in the next month or two. But thank you for all that you've done over the last year, representing us all around the province. I'm sure you've had fun, but it's also appreciated.
It's been important.
Alrighty,
That's it.
moving on to bylaws.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Well done.
Item I1, Good Neighbour Amendment Bylaw 135702, referred to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to ask our Director of Development Services to go through this and to provide you with an overview of the corporate officer's report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The purpose of this report is to amend Good Neighbor Bylaw 1357 to correct some section numbers that were incorrect. And also it further amends the excessive nuisance abatement fees to actual costs that are incurred by bylaw enforcement, RCMP, and town staff when responding to a property deemed as a nuisance. So as I mentioned, upon review of the Good Neighbor Bylaw Property Maintenance Part 9, it has been determined that sections 9.33 through 9.38 contain incorrect referencing sections. Attached to this report are red line pages noting the corrections necessary. And then additionally, nuisance properties in Oliver have created a drain on manpower resources for bylaw enforcement, RCMP, and Oliver Fire Rescue when responding to service calls. So under section 10, repeat nuisance service calls. If more than one nuisance service call is responded to within a 24-hour period or more than 3 nuisance calls within a 12-month period, the property owner shall be liable to pay an excessive nuisance abatement fee. The town provides notice to the property owner outlining the nature of the nuisance conduct and the fees that will be imposed. The excessive nuisance abatement fees are invoiced to that property owner, which are applied to property taxes if not paid. It is important to note that if bylaw notice or municipal tickets are issued to residents or property owners are not paid, then they're sent to collections with no guarantee of payment. The Good Neighbor Bylaw amendment here as proposed is to recoup actual costs incurred by the RCMP, bylaw, and the fire rescue when responding to nuisance calls. So currently the fees are about $100 per call. So the RCMP is $100 per call, fire nuisance $100 per call. Another town staff is $75 per call. So the idea is that this will be actual costs. So if a property owner gets a bill for actual costs and it's thousands of dollars, it may change their behavior. That's the purpose of this amendment. And that's all for this report. Thank you.
Would those actual costs be determined based on the call and the amount of the vehicle and the amount of officers attending, et cetera?
Yeah, they will.
Any questions, comments, council? We have a motion. Council give first, second, and third reading to the Good Neighbor Amendment Bylaw 135702 and that adoption of the Good Neighbor Amendment Bylaw be scheduled for the August 26, 2019. Do I have a mover?
I'll move.
Councilor Gray, second. Councilor Schwarzenberger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item I2, Business License Agreement Bylaw 1368.01, referred to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, I am going to refer this to the Director of Development Services, and he will go through the corporate officer's report. I am having him provide you with the information on these because this is going to be in his, under his responsibilities as the Director of Development Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the purpose of this report is to amend the fee schedule of Business License Bylaw number 1368 to include retail cannabis as a listed charge for business license. It'll be a $150 charge yearly. So at the August 2018 meeting, Council amended Land Use Procedures Bylaw 1087 to identify a process and fees for cannabis applications. At that meeting, Council were advised that the business license fee would be the same as a liquor license fee. Not much more to it, but basically the staff recommendation is that Council give first, second, and third reading to Town of Oliver Business License Bylaw, and that adoption of this bylaw be scheduled for the August 26, 2019 meeting. Thank you.
Second.
I will ask a question. Do you not think that retail cannabis might trigger additional costs to confirm regulatory requirement from a liquor store or a restaurant or something like that?
Sure, through to the CAO to answer that question.
Thank you, Worship. There was a, Council did have a major discussion with regards to this, and we are not the ones that have to do the enforcement on it. It's actually the province that's doing it. And they we actually had them come in and visit us last week, the enforcement group. And they have way more powers than what our RCMP have or we have, because they can go in and if they feel that something's not right, then they can shut them down right now. So, but in the discussion with council, council chose to go at the same cost as a license for a liquor store, as they felt it was no different in the service that's being provided. It's a retail.
Any further questions, comments? We have a proposed motion, we're moved and seconded, do we not? We'll just call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item J, business revitalization tax exemption application, Pitland Enterprises Limited for DCL.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I will ask the Chief Financial Officer to go through this with council.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Pit Lane Enterprises has come forward with an application for a revitalization tax exemption, and it's in accordance with our bylaw 1328. A exemption agreement must be approved by council and executed by the owner and the town, and the owner must not be in breach of the agreement during any of the term of the agreement, which is 10 years. And the report outlines the exemptions that are in place. It's years 1 to 5. It's 100% exemption of the municipal taxes, which does not include school, police, fire, BC assessment, municipal finance authority. Years 6 to 10 have also, it scales down 80, 60, 40, 20, and then finally to 10% in year 10. There is a disagreement, or should I say an inconsistency, between what my report's showing as the construction value when that agreement or the application was put on my desk. The application said the construction value was $1.221 million for that building, and we looked at the building permit today, the CAO and myself, and I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $520,000 or something. So in any regards, that will be inconsequential, because what the town relies on when we actually set the exemption, the level of exemption, is the assessed value. And so whether or not it's $500,000 or 1.2 million, it's going to be a matter before the assessment authority, and that's ultimately who has the final decision. What the actual construction value is of that building, that's between Pit Lane and I guess our building department. Thank you, Your Worship.
such time as all the requirements in the tax exemption agreement have been, or are fulfilled. Have a mover. Councillor Gray, second. Councillor Schwarzenberger. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item J2, bylaw enforcement officer rescinding of appointments. Refer to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is in front of council to have you rescind the appointment of 4 bylaw officers that are no longer working with the company that we contract for bylaw enforcement. As council appoints them through a resolution, you have to also rescind that appointment through a resolution. So the recommendation before council is that council rescind the following as bylaw enforcement officers pursuant to section 36 of the Police Act and section 3264 of the Community Charter for the Town of Oliver bylaw enforcement. And that's Stephen Ellis, Justice Patzer, Mark Shiplak, and Kayla Gray.
Moving. Councillor Schwarzenberger.
No.
Question. Councillor Schwarzenberger.
Thank you, Worship. Usually when these come before us, we're rescinding somebody and we're appointing somebody else. So as we're rescinding 4 appointments and nobody's being reappointed, is this gonna leave our bylaw enforcement in the lurch for a short amount of time, or what is the situation?
Not that I'm aware of. They still have, I do believe, 3 bylaw enforcement officers that work within our town, and there's, I do believe the shifts are shared between those 3 at this point in time.
Mover. Councillor Price.
I'll move recommend a motion that council rescind the following as bylaw enforcement officers pursuant to section 36 of the Police Act and section 264 of the Community Charter for the Town of Oliver bylaw enforcement of postal names.
Second. Councillor Veintimilla. Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item J3, the 2019 Citizen Survey Report. Refer to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is before you to provide you the results of the citizen survey that was undertaken. It was identified within the strategic planning process that you wanted to engage your citizens. Was put into the budget for this year, and we tendered out, and the Public Affairs Department undertook the survey on behalf of the Town of Oliver. They were looking at a sample size of 100 individuals, and despite their best efforts to engage younger residents, they outlined in the report that the final number of 18 to 34-year-olds in the sample was too small to apply as statistical weight to that age group. So they looked at it at 65, was applied to those under 65 years and 65 plus years. And the impact was weighting women down from 62% of the sample to a census proportion of 54%. And to weight the 65 plus year age group down from 61% of the sample census to 43%. That analysis doesn't have an impact on the overall results. So the survey is focused on quality of life, community safety, town services, financial planning, and communication and customer services. The key takeaways from this survey are outlined in the executive summary, and it indicates the quality of life is good and improving. Residents are satisfied with services. They feel they are receiving good value for taxes, and are satisfied with the town's customer service, with staff's courteousness standing out as a service highlight. As we felt was going to be the case, crime dominated the public issue agenda. Protective services is citizens' #1 priority for investment. They demonstrated a clear preference for tax increase over service reductions, and prioritizing renewing existing infrastructure over building new infrastructure. And there's a strong support for bylaw banning single-use plastics. I did wanna go into the actual report because I think it's, under the executive summary, it talks to, satisfaction of the town customer service is high. And they were contacted personally over the 12 months, and among those who made contact, 91% said they are satisfied with the overall service received. A strong majority also say they are satisfied with the ease of reaching staff, that's 90%. Staff's helpfulness is at 89%, and the speed and timeliness of service is 89%. And their knowledge base is 88%, and the ability to resolve their issues was at 82%. I think that speaks very highly for the employees of the organization and how they represent the organization to the public. So this report is in front of you to receive for information and to also direct us to place it on the town's website. Are there any questions?
Questions, comments, Council? Councillor Veintimilla?
Thank you. I did think that was a good survey, and I just have a comment and a question. I guess my comment is that I have a hard time believing that missing a fairly substantial portion of the population, 18 to 34-year-olds, I guess somewhere in there, but it doesn't see how many of it's not enough to apply weight to. I just have a hard time believing that that doesn't affect the overall results of a survey, because that is a large portion of our population. I guess that's too late for that. My question is regarding the sample size. Is 100 recipients what we were aiming for? Is that considered adequate?
CEO?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, that question was asked when we were first going out with regards to this, and as the mayor indicated, for the city of Penticton, only 300 people were put through for their Kelowna, I should say. Kelowna, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Only 300 people were put through, were in the survey, so 100 for this population size gives you good results.
Okay. So my follow-up comment just goes right back to the age thing, that for future, not that we're doing this every year, but if we are having such, in my opinion, what is a small sample size, then I think it's really important that we have all demographics and, be it age or gender or race. That's for next time.
They won't stay on the phone, it's different.
Yeah, well, and I think that might be part of the methodology too, like if we're only doing phone and we're not doing other methods, that might be part of the issue too. But something to look at for next time. That's good for a first go.
Yeah, I think it was a good first stab at getting some feedback from the community in this type of a format for sure. I think the results, from my experience with getting results and looking at them, working at the city of Kelowna, these are very similar to the results that city of Kelowna was getting there. I think the quality of life is good here. People think it's improving. Crime is an issue. It's an issue everywhere as well. I think this is a good benchmark for us to consider. And I would like to do this in 2 more years to see where we're moving. Are we making some improvements? We got some good feedback on the plastic issue. I think that's something that people, they could connect with. It was a fairly, substantial or simple issue in the world right now, and other communities are dealing with that as well and making it a priority. So it was good to have that feedback. There was lots of interesting results. I see that the pool was low on the chart, but if you had asked me before, I would have said that the pool would be low because it's generally a small majority of people that really want a pool and they're very passionate about it. It was no different in Kelowna when they built H2O. Still provided good value for the community, but the support in the community wasn't as high as it would be for the plastic issue. Very appreciative of staff, and I give the thumbs up and kudos to staff because they are the frontline people representing the town and the community, and they should take great pride in the comments that came back on them for sure. And the fire department frontline staff, really were noted as outstanding, so that was good. Those would be my comments. Seeing no further discussion, I would
Just curious as to, in the action grid, and this is a water thing, but the primary areas for improvement in drinking water quality, we've got everybody in our town boundaries drinking well water, so I wonder when, maybe we should dig into that a little bit. Yeah, Sean?
I'm wondering if it's because of the hard water that we have. And
Yeah, just,
I-
I
that's
saw
the only
that,
com-
and I was just curious.
it's the only complaint that I get, like, and especially new people moving to Oliver. I find that, they're asking us questions about water softeners and stuff, and they're not used to the hard water that we have here.
Yeah, 'cause
But it's good water.
Yeah,
Drinking all the time.
Okay, no comment.
We have the motion, council received the chief administrative officer's report dated July 15, 2019 regarding this as a survey for information, and council directs staff to place the citizen 2019 survey on the town website. Councilor Rosenberg, second by Councilor Rice. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item J4, British Columbia Automobile Association BCAA Play Here Winter Agreement. I'll refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is in front of council to receive authorization to enter into the BCAA Play Here Winter Agreement with respect to the Oliver Small Wheels Playground. The Oliver Parks and Recreation Society's Oliver Small Wheels Playground was entered into the BCAA Play Here contest and received enough votes to place third in the contest, which has entitled them to receive a prize valued at $100,000. As the town of Oliver is the actual owner of the property, BCAA requires that they enter into the agreement with the town of Oliver, and Carol Sheridan, the Park and Recreation Manager, would be the designated representative with regards to this particular program. Any funds that are received from BCAA will flow through the town of Oliver to Oliver Parks and Recreation Society, and I have included a copy of the agreement for council's reference. And by doing this will enable the Oliver Parks and Recreation Society to receive the prize consisting of goods and services valued at $100,000 to develop the Oliver Small Wheels Playground. The recommendation is that council enter into the Play Here Winter Agreement with BCAA for the Oliver Small Wheels Playground, and that council authorize the town signing authorities to execute the agreement.
Councilor Rice.
I'll move the proposed motion that the CAO just read, is that what we're doing?
Second by Councilor Mattis. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to correspondence, the July 22nd correspondence report for the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will refer over to the Deputy Corporate Officer to go over this report with you, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. The correspondence report, in this session, we have no council action required. And we have a number of correspondence items that were for information only. This correspondence dated July 10th from the Acting Regional Executive Director from the Ministry of Forests, Lands, Natural Resources, Operations and Rural Development regarding Okanagan Basin Waterboards Invasive Milfoil Program for protection of Rocky Mountain ridge mussels. There's an email dated June 7th from Environment and Climate Change Canada regarding modification of the Species at Risk Act. It's correspondence dated June 26th from Mayor Darrell Walker, City of White Rock, regarding a UBC and resolution regarding proposed vacancy tax. June 27th, Acting Mayor Megan Lottie, City of Port Moody, regarding a UBCM resolution, support for property assessed clean energy enabling legislation for BC. Correspondence from Katrine Conroy, Minister of Children and Family Development, and Katrina Chen, Minister of State and Child Care, regarding Childcare BC New Spaces Fund. July 2nd, Mayor Lynn Ball from the City of Prince George regarding UBCM resolutions regarding proceeds of crime and cleanup of needles and other harm reduction paraphernalia. July 25th, from the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch regarding a policy directive regarding updated alcohol sense materials. And an email on July 8th from the LCRB as well regarding a correction to a policy directive with respect to a variety of liquor requirements for large public special event permits. The recommendation for council is to receive the aforementioned correspondence and weekly mail. Thank you.
Comments, questions? Councillor Grace?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to comment, and I don't need it to receive the report, but the correspondence from the Minister of Children and Family Development and Minister of State for Child Care was missing.
I just noticed that, cause I was going to talk to it. It's basically to put information out there, they're talking about a new funding program that they have, so we'll make sure that we put it on our, social media page, so that people are aware of it. I'm sorry about that.
Do you have a mover of the motion to receive the weekly mail? Councillor Grace, second by Councillor Veintimilla. Those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Moving to reports. Councillor Mattis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Tuesday the 9th, I attended the membership meeting of the Oliver Tourism Association, and on Friday the 12th, the primary care community workshop, which is turning out quite good, actually, quite good. And that's it, today's meetings.
Thanks, Councillor Mattis. Councillor Schwarzenberger.
Thank you, Worship. Tuesday, July 9th, I attended the Oliver Tourism Association meeting with Councillor Mattis. Thursday, July 11th, I attended Music in the Park. And just a reminder to everybody that this Wednesday is our second conversation with council at Fire Hall Brewery downstairs at Fire Hall Brewery from 5:30 to 7:30. So you can come and have a cup of coffee or a different type of libation and talk to council about whatever you wish. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thanks, Councillor Schwarzenberger. Councillor Veintimilla.
Thank you. On Wednesday, July the 10th, I attended a Heritage Society meeting that was followed by the annual summer volunteer barbecue. And the rain held off just enough for everyone to set up their chairs when they came in. Friday, July the 12th, I also attended the follow-up primary care workshop with colleagues from around the region, and that was hosted by the Division of Family Practice in Penticton. It'll be interesting to see, there's lots of good information being discussed. It's gonna be interesting to see how we can tie it all together and bring it back to our respective councils or to the hospital district or somewhere to actually move forward on some of the action ideas. Thursday, July the 18th, which was last Thursday, I was at the regional district. It was a busy day, but one of the highlights was a visit from Superintendent DeYeger, and it was in his presentation on current area statistics. So I took a screenshot of the presentation, and I have to refer to that for the numbers. But Oliver was a standout. So as we saw from our citizen survey, crime is something that is on a lot of people's minds in our community. And as far as our citizens on patrol groups and our speed watch groups, we blew all the other communities out of the water by a long shot. So for the quarter, Oliver had 677 hours dedicated to citizens on patrol, and 105, I'm sorry, I think this is from the beginning of the year, 105 dedicated to speed watch. So Penticton came a close second as far as citizens on patrol, but their community is much larger and their volunteer base is also much larger. But any other community our size, not even close, like we blew them out of the water. So that is a testament to the citizens that feel that crime is an issue, stepping up and doing something about it. And that's the end of my report.
Thanks, Councillor Veintimilla. Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Your Worship. I spent the last couple of weeks enjoying the summer with my children and just have today's meetings to report. And Councillor Schwarzenberger stole my thunder.
It's kind of habit of doing that.
About our meeting on Wednesday, so I really hope any members of the public that are watching right now can make it out to the fire hall and join us in some friendly discussions.
For me, on July 10th, I had a meeting with RCMP Superintendent Ted Jagger, CEO, and the corporate officer. It was a good 2-hour meeting discussing a variety of topics. It initiatives that are being considered by the Crime Prevention Committee, but also looking forward to UBCM and how to wrap those requests up nice and neat. July 12th, I did attend the Primary Community Care Workshop in Penticton, an ongoing workshop looking to improve healthcare in the South Okanagan. July 17th, I met with the South Okanagan District Manager, BC Emergency Health Services, so that was an interesting conversation. Very informative just to learn about how the ambulance service works in our community and what their protocols are and how some of their protocols are actually changing as far as times go and where they go. It seems to be all wrapped together. One of the things that he shared there is if you have a surgical need, trauma need, they now, anywhere within 90 minutes, they take you to Kelowna, so they don't take you to Penticton anymore, they go straight to Kelowna. And trauma, they will go within an hour, so they'll take you to Penticton at this point in time. So and that's just new for them, so things come out and they have, the other thing they had there, which was interesting, is they have a hotline that they get in touch with an emergency physician at the same time when you get in the ambulance, which is probably similar with the helicopters and stuff like that. So there is a whole nother healthcare supportive emergency network that's working alongside the emergency departments in our province. And July 18th, I attended Music in the Park, and it was a busy place for sure. And that concludes my report. Upcoming meeting, our next regular open council meeting is August 26th at 7 p.m. So I would encourage council to get out and spend some time with their families and enjoy the summer break. Acting mayor for August is Councillor Grace, and for September, October, and November, Councillor Veintimilla is acting mayor. And public question period.
Saved it all for Wednesday night.
Oh. You mind the first round?
No, the last one, by that time you guys should all be gone.
And a motion to adjourn then.